Okay, welcome to podcast number 2. We are going to look into digestion, the process in which your body breaks down the food. So, the key question we are looking at is, how does the digestive system keep our bodies functioning? So, how does the digestive system keep our bodies functioning? There are 2 types of digestion which you need to know about. The first is mechanical, and that is physically moving to break down your food. And one example would be chewing. So if you ate this apple pie up here in the corner and you were chewing with your teeth, that is mechanical. Chemical, however, is when you use chemicals to break down your food. So an example would be the chemicals from your saliva, your spit. That is all chemical. There are certain enzymes and other chemicals mixed into all of that help break down your food even more. So 2 types, mechanical and chemical. What are the functions of the digestive system? 3 main functions here: breaking down your food, absorbing nutrients into the bloodstream, and eliminating your waste. So just 3 short ones: breaking down your food, absorbing molecules into the bloodstream, and eliminating waste. Here is a quick look into the organs involved. Now, you're not going to need to know all of these, so don't go memorizing all of these. I just want you to take a look at the pathway. Here is the respiratory system up here, but what you see is the esophagus runs straight into the stomach. So that's how you get your food. And we are going to look into the rest of these organs right now. All right, the first is your mouth, and that's your teeth, which is mechanical digestion, and saliva, chemical digestion. It breaks down your food, and that's where it all begins. It takes about 5 or 30 seconds for this to occur, depending on how fast you chew. Then the food goes straight down your esophagus. And here comes the term that we talked about before, epiglottis. Remember, that seals off your windpipe. It takes about 10 seconds for this to occur. So once it's sealed off, it will then shoot down the right tube, the esophagus, instead of your throat. And it pushes food down in something called peristalsis. And that is a process which moves the food back and forth. Okay? So it doesn't just go straight down. When you bite off a piece of pizza and you start chewing and you swallow, it doesn't go straight down. There's a movement that occurs in order to push it down. And that, once again, is peristalsis. The stomach is the next organ. It's a J-shaped pouch. Has 2 types of digestion. When it churns, so it's moving, that's mechanical. And the acid is chemical. And that's known as hydrochloric acid, which breaks down your food in about 3 hours. So from the time you eat lunch to when you leave school, your food will finally have been digested or moved through your stomach. Now, all of that food that you eat, whether it's unhealthy or healthy, the nutrients are going to be absorbed in the small intestines. And that's where most mechanical digestion takes place, through the use of the movement, peristalsis. It's here in your small intestines for about 3 hours. So as long as it takes to move through the stomach, it takes to move through the small intestines. And this is where you get your nutrients once again. Passes through your bloodstream. Now, the question is, what about all that extra stuff, all those nutrients that you don't need, that aren't really nutritious and are not needed for your body? Well, after the small intestines, it moves straight into the large intestines, and it pulls out any nutrients that may have been missed in the small intestines. Now, this takes about 18 hours to 2 days. So 2 days ago, imagine that you were eating a bagel. Well, any nutrients that were not used from that bagel are finally moving through your large intestines. And all of that extra waste that is pulled out that you don't need then moves into the rectum, where it stores your waste, compacts it, and then it's removed through the anus. That's where all the waste comes out. I want to take a look once again at the small intestines for you just to kind of get a better picture of what happens here. We said that the small intestines is where all those nutrients are absorbed into the blood. Now, the way for that to happen, though, is through something called villi. And these are similar to the hairs that are in your nose and in your throat. And they absorb those nutrients and push it out to the bloodstream. So your whole intestines are lined with these hair-like structures called villi. Now, looking at the large intestines here, this is where all that leftover material is pushed out. Remember, anything that you do not need, it is pushed out through the large intestines. One final thing that the large intestines does do is it absorbs any water that you need into the bloodstream too. So that is one extra role of your large intestines. And several minor organs that still play a key role into the intestinal process are, one, the liver, and you can see where it's located right here. It's in the upper portion of your abdomen. It's located where many people think it wouldn't be located. So try and get that mental picture there. It is the largest organ in the body. It breaks down medicines that you need. So if you have bronchitis, pharyngitis, any of that stuff that we have talked about, and you need antibiotics, this is the organ that will break down that medicine so it will help you. And then it's carried through the bloodstream. It also produces something called bile that breaks up your fat particles. It does not digest food, though. The liver doesn't digest food. Okay, once again, it breaks down medicines and it produces bile to break up fat. Otherwise, you would not get any supplement that you need from the fat that you eat if it was not for this organ. Now, here's something to know. If you lose up to 75% of your liver, it will grow back. It's kind of like a starfish, how they can regenerate an arm. That is exactly what your liver does. No other organ in the body does that. Now, how you're going to lose part of that liver, I'm not quite sure. But now you know. Fun fact, you can grow back your liver. Another organ that you need to know about is the gallbladder. So that bile that the liver makes, this is where it's stored. And one final organ to know about is the pancreas. This produces enzymes that help break down fats that you eat, any kind of protein from that red meat you eat, hamburgers, any kind of starches from bread that you eat. So you have this bile from the liver that breaks down your medicine and fat. It's stored in the gallbladder. And then finally the pancreas helps break that down even more. So those three minor organs help break down the fats and the meats and the bread, all of that you eat. So say butter, hamburger, bread. These three organs help break that down for you. All right, so going through the process here, the food goes through the esophagus from the mouth to the stomach. The stomach makes churning movements and produces hydrochloric acid, and that's the acid that breaks down your food. The back and forth movement by the stomach or the esophagus is called peristalsis. Remember, that pushes the food down and mechanically digests your food. The liver, that extra organ, makes bile that aids in digestion, and it also stores bile and breaks down toxins in the blood. The gallbladder is that organ that stores the bile that the liver creates. From there, the small intestines absorb nutrients from your food, and the large intestines carry substances from the liver that cannot be digested. It's all that leftover substances mixed with bacteria that get exited out the body. Here's your bonus, how you digest food. You need to write a creative summary of the pathway. So describe that role of each part of the digestive system in the process of digesting your food. So imagine you're eating a giant hamburger from McDonald's, okay? What is the process that that food would take in order to leave your body? And here are the terms that you can use. The teeth, salivary glands, that's your saliva, your esophagus, your stomach, your small intestines, the pancreas, liver, large intestine, and the rectum. All right, and that ends the podcast. I would go through this once again and just kind of run through the process and take notes as to what happens in each process. And if you do that, you are all set to go for Monday. All right, please let me know if you have any questions.